Greetings, and welcome to the Nerdsmith Presents 9 Hells of a Good Time event. 12 one-shot episodes featuring 12 different DMs and 48 different players over the entire month of October. I'm Kelly Lane. I am your host and DM for this evening. You can regularly find me at @KellyLane on Twitter. You can also find me a lot over on Scraticus Academy, where I'm a player Monday nights, 10:30 p.m. EST, in a Shadows of Esteren game called Talk to Diplomacy. It's a bit of a controversial system because the DM actually has control over the character's emotions. So highly recommend if you're interested in learning more about that system. You can also find a lot of my work popping up on DM's Guild. I especially love editing adventures, including editing all 4 volumes of Uncaged, as well as Friends, Foes, Other Fine Folks, and some other inclusive D&D materials. So we're going to go around and introduce each of our players today. So I think our player playing Professor Cornelius is immediately around the circle.
Hello, my name is Matthew. I use he, him pronouns, and I am a creator on the Nerdsmith network. I am the creator and DM for the Land Above podcast, which we are in the process of getting ramped up to start our second arc in the very near future, along with some other exciting announcements coming soon. I also play the part of Crackers on our Friday night's Ghosts of Saltmarsh game. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Matthew A. Siebert, as linked below, I think.
And Kim, you want to give us a brief introduction?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Hanley. You can find me on Twitter at _Kim Hanley, since somebody's squatting on the one without it. And not that I'm bitter. I'm currently teaming up with a Twitch channel called Dice Tyrants on a Savage World campaign we're getting ready to start. It's a lot of fun. And I'm getting ready to DM for the first time on the Roll Society Twitch channel. So that's going to be very exciting. And when I'm not playing D&D, I like to run marathons.
And Heather, I think most people here know you, but if you want to go and kind of do your intro anyway.
Hi, everyone. Any of our normal Nerdsmith watchers at least probably know me. I'm one of the directors here at Nerdsmith. You can find me here on the Twitch channel on Tuesdays and Fridays in 2 of our streaming shows, as well as on the Geek Thyself podcast. And I'm Nerdsmith's resident cat lady, if you couldn't tell.
And last but certainly not least, Shauna.
Hey everyone, Shauna Nakasone, Flying Cirrus on Twitter, where you can find pinned tweets with all my games that I'm in throughout the week, as well as art for usually D&D themes, characters and such. You can catch me on Encounter Roleplay on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, where I play Zweihander and Broken Crown. We play trying to save a baby from the clutches of an evil ruler.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining me today. I'm so excited. A little bit nervous, mostly excited. So today we are celebrating the release of Wizards of the Coast modules Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. I actually remember playing the old Baldur's Gate original computer games, and I was super excited for this module to come out. So tonight's episode is sponsored by World Anvil, the most robust campaign management software on the market. They are constantly coming out with new, exciting features and ways to support creativity in world building. Light up the forge with World Anvil. We're also sponsored by Die Hard Dice. I have some coming in the mail soon. Purveyors of the finest polyhedrals in the multiverse. Oh, yes. So cool. They come out with new sets all the time, each one as incredible as the last. You can win a set of their brand new Brimstone dice by entering the code #CLUE now in chat. So be sure to check them out at dieharddice.com and roll with the best. Also, special thanks to Will Crossweight composing the intro song for us, and Angela for making the wonderful intro video. You can find them on Twitter at CrossweightMusic and at darling_gypsum, respectively. So tonight is the 3rd standalone episode of the epic one-shot series, 9 Hells of a Good Time, a 12-part exploration of the newest D&D supplement, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. We hope that you'll join us for the ride on all 12 adventures coming up. You can catch past episodes on Twitch VOD or on the Nerdsmith YouTube channel shortly after they've aired. today we will be hanging out in Baldur's Gate, not in Avernus, as our players have been recently invited to participate in a dinner party. Each one of our characters here received a recent invitation that stated you're cordially invited to the Haversham Hill Hotel, located in the Manorborn neighborhood, for a dinner party on behalf of the proprietor. As we all know, entering the upper city of Baldur's Gate requires either a pass of some kind, quite a bit of coin, or a noticeable face. And as such, this invitation serves as their pass to enter the upper city. Sincerely, Dowager Rattle. So we're going to begin tonight with each of our players arriving at the party, and we'll have a little chance to kind of meet everyone who's here today. So as you approach the Haversham Hill Hotel, a very striking building. It looks historic. It's been clearly recently renovated, and you can actually still see sections of the building where there's kind of scaffolding up along the wall where they're still kind of fixing mortar and brick. It is a massive building. It seems like 3-4 stories tall at least. It's spread throughout almost a whole estate. You know that probably 10 or 15 years ago, the Rattle family purchased this estate, and it just kind of sat empty up until a few months ago when renovations began and people started staying there, usually playing host to diplomats or important family members coming to Baldur's Gate from out of town. Quite a lively location. However, you also know that Dowager Rattle has not been seen in probably just as much time. No one has actually seen her, and all the parties that seem to be hosted in her name are hosted by someone instead known only as the Whiskey Lady. Everyone assumes that they're supposed to know who she is, and nobody therefore keeps asking her name, because that would be very, very rude. And so today we're actually going to start with the arrival of Professor Cornelius. So as you approach and you go to raise a hand to knock on the front door, it immediately opens. And inside you see a small, very pale man in what looks like a somewhat worn tuxedo, complete with kind of black but fading into charcoal gray, like it's been in the sun too long, bow tie. He's kind of completely bald on the top. And he just says, Oh, hello, welcome. I assume you're one of the...
I was invited to a dinner party at this address. I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. You'll have to speak up a bit.
There we go. My voice to talk decided to give out because it didn't like me holding on to it for so long. Anyway, he says, "Oh, yes, you must be Professor Cornelius? Is that
Professor
correct?"
Cornelius Coldhearth, yes.
Wonderful. I'm they just call me the butler, but let me take your coat, let me take your things, and would you like a drink, port, wine, anything like that?
Oh, a glass of sherry, if you have some, would be lovely.
Wonderful. And he kind of takes your any coat that you might offer him, and he waves a hand showing you into one doorway. And he says, "You can. The mistress will be here soon, but you can wait for her in the study, where we'll be having drinks before dinner." And he kind of ushers you into this room, and you see what is a very classic study. There's kind of bookshelves on every wall, a large desk, and some very comfortable seating. When you look at this room, it looks a great deal like the rest of the building, where it looks like worn, tattered around the edges, frayed fabrics maybe, but trying very, very hard to look posh. And can you describe what our professor looks like?
Of course, Professor Cornelius is very slight and slender in build. He has very pale bluish tinged skin, white hair that is kept at a sort of a medium length and seems to almost drift behind him as he walks, like it's caught in this constant breeze. He is an Ergenasi, and he dresses in these very fine gold embroidered robes that drape down to the floor. And he has this very expensive and brilliant sort of brooch that he wears, clasping them closed. And it has this air of pomp and finery about him. He has a ridiculous hat, this sort of conical hat that he wears as well.
And this butler kind of ushers you into the room, comes back a few moments later with your requested drink, and you can kind of sit and wait, and we'll head back to the front door where there is another knock. And I believe Kalara is at the door.
Excuse me, I'm here for some sort of dinner party.
Yes, do you have your invitation?
I do. I'm afraid I'm actually here for Captain Odegaard. He wasn't able to make it tonight. And she hands the invitation over.
Yes.
I'm his personal assistant. He sent me in his stead.
Oh, all right. Well, we were very excited to have the captain join us, but of course, come in. If he thinks that you are a great representative, then of course you can come in. And he seems flustered. This has taken him by surprise that it's not one of the people that he's expecting.
Thank you.
Coat, hat. Would you like a beverage?
A glass of champagne would be fantastic.
All right. And he motions you into the same room that he has led the professor into. And can you describe what Kalara looks like for everyone?
Right. She's a very lithe figure, not very tall, sort of medium height, and slightly pointed ears indicating her elven heritage. Short black hair that she's got pulled back out of her face. She's wearing a red slinky dress, but around her waist has a sort of a large sash bearing the emblem of the city guard, and a small cape at her shoulders that also has the emblem of the city guard, with what appears to be sort of ceremonial or just decorative swords crossed across her hips, one on each side.
And as you walk through, you notice very obviously that the butler here is kind of examining your dress, making sure that it is a legitimate kind of outfit of the member of the watch, which protects the upper city. And you can tell that he's kind of just double checking to make sure you seem to be who you say you are. And upon his like cursory inspection, he like seems satisfied and lets you in. Where there is a third knock at the door, and he kind of, I'll be right back with your champagne. And he runs back to the door very quickly, seeming quite scattered. And Adriana is at the other side, and he kind of very quickly opens the door, and it's like, yes, hello.
I trust I'm in the right place, right?
Do you have an invitation?
Oh, yes. She like takes out thing, just gives it. Yes. She's expecting them to know who I was.
Then you are in the right place. Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm somewhat scattered. It's been a very surprising evening.
I'm not early, am I?
Oh, no. You are perfectly on time, and in fact, just that exact perfect amount of behind.
Oh, good.
There are already some of the other guests are already here. Let me take your coat. Can I get you a drink?
Yes, glass of red would be perfectly fine.
Wonderful. And the here, and he shows you to the study, and the mistress will be down in a moment, just as soon as all the guests have arrived, and we'll gather ourselves for dinner. Yes, wonderful. And he heads back out. And can you describe Adriana for us?
Adriana's a young, noble woman, black hair tied up and held up. She's wearing like a long sleeveless dress of blue and silver feathers, the new nobility fashionable in Waterdeep.
Some of you, as she enters the room, may actually recognize her. So Adriana Caldwell is part of the Caldwell family. Is a very notable member of the Patriarchs, which is the ruling class here in Baldur's Gate. She's well regarded for her philanthropy that she does through the funds that of her family's many art and history museums throughout Baldur's Gate and the surrounding area. So she's very well known. You know that she's very high status. And Adriana, you would actually at least recognize Kalara as someone who's probably put together or who has been around as part of the Watch, but it's not someone that you would necessarily see yourself interacting with usually. When you immediately saw the Watch garb, you would expect it to be a captain or someone that you might actually know, but you would probably have seen her around at various events performing her duties. And then the final knock at the door is Karen. And again, you're greeted very hastily by this balding, kind of now sweating, damp kind of man who's a little bit nervous. You can see the sheen on the top of his head. He's clearly been running back and forth, and he goes, our final guest. Yes.
Yes, it's catch your breath. There is no rush, and I'll hand him the invitation.
Oh, perfect. Everything seems to be in order. And can I get you a drink?
Just water for now, thank you.
All right. And he kind of ushers you into the study and then scurries off. It looks like towards the back to where you would imagine kind of a kitchen area to be. And can you describe Karen for us?
So Karen is a high elf, like 6'3" on the tall side, but she carries herself well with that height. Long blonde hair, but it's bunned up with two long pieces of metal holding it in place that may resemble darts if you look closely, but no one is. And she's in a what would essentially look like a dirndl, white blouse, low cut, about mid calf, silver dress, embellished with bulls and anvils, the symbols of Hephaestus, the god that she worships. And she's that about describes her.
And I think at least Adriana in this room, if not also the professor, would recognize you as well, correct?
Yes, I would definitely give Adriana a polite wave as I walk in, having seen her before.
You would know that Karen regularly produces kind of fine jewelry. I imagine that many of the people that attend galas at your family's museums often request her services, so much so that usually the most important person in the room has a piece made by Karen and everyone else was not worthy. And so you were all kind of sitting in this parlor study space. There's, like I said, there's bookshelves everywhere. There's a large desk. There's plenty of seating. The butler kind of comes back with a tray of all the drinks and hands them out to you one at a time. Do you engage in any small chat while you're waiting?
Yeah, I'll Adriana's gonna look at Carolyn, just like, oh, so nice to see you here. Oh, those pieces you did for the Antiquities of the Underdark event were fantastic. They loved it.
Thank you. If I had known you were coming to this party as well, I would have made sure to pack something for you. I'm surprised that we're all of us are here for this particular dinner.
Oh yes, but you're too kind. This is a bit unusual for parties. You think?
A bit, yeah. It's the small number of people. I would expect a hotel this size to throw a gala, not a dinner.
Well, I guess we can just think of it as an exclusive party at this point. Make it much more fun.
Adriana, can you roll the first roll of the game for me? And roll a perception check.
That is a 16.
As you're talking to Karen, there's certain words and phrases that she's using that don't feel standard to you. You've talked to her a lot, you've interacted with her at a lot of parties, and there's something here about the way she's talking that just isn't normal. Maybe she might be sick, or she might have something really on her mind. She seems like distracted, maybe.
Okay. Well, then let's try and just have as much fun as possible. It's a good night. Hey, night's a good night for a party, I guess.
Agreed.
And what is Cornelius doing at this time?
I believe I'm casting a sideways glance at this city guard who's shown up for this formal dinner and seems rather out of place. Excuse me, officer, perhaps? Good evening. Is there some problem about the residence that the city guard were called?
Oh, no, there's absolutely no problem. Actually, I'm the personal assistant of Captain Odegaard. He was invited tonight, but he couldn't make it due to some family troubles. He sent me in his stead.
Oh, I see, yes. Well, I imagine that you're in for a treat. One of your station can't often be invited to such soirees.
It's definitely going to be a bit different. I do attend some of these, but I'm usually more in the background, getting things prepared. And of course, the guard has worked with Miss Caldwell's family quite often on hosting some fundraising galas. So I've been around them. I'm not going to embarrass myself, I don't believe, but I'm usually not the first invitation to go out.
And as you're chatting, you hear the door behind you, kind of the door to the study, open, and the butler walks back in and kind of takes a low bow and seems to be kind of entrez-vous to a somewhat tall, she's probably something like 5'8", 5'9", human woman in her late 40s. You can see that her reddish hair has a few like graying streaks in it, but very much so that it seems stylish and purposeful, like she owns it. She's walking in and she's got kind of a low-cut black velvet dress that trails on the floor behind her. Adriana and Karen would probably recognize her, at least from other events that they've gone to in the past. This is the woman known as the Whiskey Lady, and she just kind of walks in and she goes, "Oh, so wonderful for you all to make it here tonight." As you know, we're restoring the Haversham Hill Hotel, and I was excited for the chance to show it off to small groups of wonderful people and get some maybe attention, maybe a little free advertising, but mostly to have good time with good people and use this wonderful space. It's wonderful to see you all here. And she's like, and she turns to look at Clara. She's like, I don't know you in particular.
Yes, I'm very sorry for the confusion. Captain Odegaard sends his regards and his apologies. His wife and children suddenly took very ill, and he had to be at home with them this evening.
That's fine. And she extends a hand very delicately to shake yours. She goes, anyone that the captain thinks is a wonderful person to come in his stead is wonderful by me. I'm just happy that you could join us tonight, and I'm excited to show off my hotel to you. But first, I believe we're well past to dinner time, isn't that right? Kalara, when you're speaking to her, the first thing that you really notice about her is that she has kind of rich chocolate brown eyes. which is maybe not what you had expected. And she just motions. She's like, well, our large dining room is just across the hall, and I can happy to give you like a mini tour while we're at it. Here on the first floor is kind of common spaces for the guests. We've got hosting space, my office, which you're sitting in. We've got the dining hall for get-togethers and meals that are regularly available. We have kind of a smaller dining space back towards the kitchen, towards the back, and then the upper floors are just rooms and rooms and rooms, and they just keep going and going and going. And somewhere around here, I think it's in the gatehouse in the back, Boris lives. She gestures to the balding butler. He helps me out regularly, but anyway, I believe it's dinner time, and she ushers you towards the great dining hall where there's this large ceiling and this kind of very comforting blue walls everywhere, and this long table. It seems like a large solid piece of mahogany. Can you hear me? You should be able to hear me. There we go. These very ornate chairs, and they're beautifully crafted, and it's a beautiful space, and it's already laid out with food all on one end. So there's like a whole set of seats down at one end of the table that are set for you, and she heads to the head of the table and immediately sits down. Is there anything anyone is looking for or thinking about or wants to know while she's kind of doing her little introduction?
I'm definitely looking around just to see if anything looks like it's out of place for the way she's describing things. Does it seem like this is actually being set up as a functional hotel, or does it seem like there's something strange going on in anywhere?
Roll investigation for me.
Okay. That's a 21.
Oh, that's very good. So as she's kind of leading you down this first hallway into this side door, and she's describing all the different rooms that are here, based on the size of the building outside, thinking about the size of some of these rooms, the sizes of the rooms don't match up with the specs of the building. It's like there's space. There are spaces here where there should be more rooms, where there's just walls. Like this dining room doesn't fill the whole side of this hallway, but there's no other doors to go anywhere on this side of the hallway. So something is off about the actual construction of the building. What that is, you're unsure, but you notice immediately, based on your keen eye for detail, that there's just something off about the sizes of the spaces.
And as she's giving the tour, I'll pipe up with so when are you hoping to have guests staying with you again? Are you planning again a grand opening celebration of some kind in the near future?
Oh, well, we have the odd guest coming around here and there, special occasions, special people, that kind of thing, and I'm happy to host them up. As you could see probably from outside, we still have a great deal of construction to do. The Dowager, the gods rest her soul, um, I'd really let the place go a bit, and have been putting a lot of money and a lot of time back into the Radel estate and trying to rebuild, and we don't want to open until we're completely ready, that the place is solid, and we've even had some issues with work crews kind of quitting in the middle, people that just weren't very dedicated to the cause, I guess. But hopefully in the next couple of months we will be up and functional, certainly by the end of the year.
In time for the holidays, then that'll be great.
Yes, that's the goal. There's so much traffic at the holidays. I'd be remiss to miss out on the opportunity to make that level of coin, which of course will be split between being put back into the hotel and being donated possibly to some of Miss Caldwell's charities even. We do love the work that you do here in the Rattle family.
Oh, you're too kind. But if you notice all the beautiful carving and all the artwork here, if you need help with people that can restore things, I can definitely put you in mind for some people that I know. They've done good work.
Oh, that would be wonderful. As you can tell, things are still a little off. We're doing our best with what we've got, but I want to continue to improve the estate, and I'd love to have you. I'll definitely be in touch.
Yes, the building of this history should be restored to its normal splendor. Can't skimp on these sort of things, you know?
I completely agree. It's why we're taking our time to get open. Well, I believe it's time to eat. And she kind of takes her seat. The butler goes around and kind of pulls out the rest of the chairs for each of you, kind of directing you to sit around the table. And you can begin to have dinner and light conversation. Is there anything else anyone would want to be looking for or doing? Or feel free to have conversations amongst yourself or ask questions. You notice that it's very quiet in this room.
I will say, madam, that so far I am very impressed by the beauty of this structure. When it was originally built, they obviously put a great deal of care into the detail and the aesthetics of it. I must say, if the rest looks as nearly impressive as what we've seen so far, I would love to recommend your accommodations to my colleagues back in Waterdeep.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And you call us impressive, but I hear that you have been doing some fascinating research, Professor. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I have been told that outside of academic circles, my research is rather boring, but personally I find that the strata of the elemental planes and the various energies that bind them in the arcane weave is ever so. He will ramble on for minutes and minutes and minutes about this.
And she will listen very politely as you ramble and once you take a moment to breathe, she'll just ask you, well, that sounds like a great deal of work. How long have you been working on that?
Oh,
That
it
must be
feels
a
like
lifetime.
It is my life's work, to be true, yes.
Well, we have to have wonderful people doing great work so we can continue to learn about this wonderful world around us. What is everyone's passive perception?
18.
10.
11.
16.
Okay, so who was the 18? And you, Kalara, what was yours?
16.
16. Okay, both of you, through this kind of extreme silence, normally these old buildings creak a little bit. There's some kind of noise of wind shifting, but it's very, very quiet in here. But you hear what sounds like some kind of grating or pumping sound. It's very mechanical sounding. And it's very faint. It's like it's very far away. But it's actually coming from under where you're standing. It's coming from up from through the floor. You're hearing this like mechanical sound. And as you continue to eat and chat, everybody roll a Constitution saving throw.
Oh.
Say 14.
12.
Okay.
10.
Okay.
11.
Oh, not very good all around. We're at level 10, by the way, folks. This was a rough starting roll for the group. So you all start to feel woozy and sleepy. Professor Cornelius, very, very briefly, just before your head hits the table as you pass out, you notice the mistress of the house stand up. The rest of you just kind of conk out immediately. And when you wake, it's unclear what time has passed, but Kalara, can you roll just a raw intelligence for me? And the rest of you kind of start to come to. What'd you get?
That was a nat 20.
Oh, you wake up and you immediately notice one very important detail. This cannot possibly be the room that you were just in, but you are sitting in the same spot at a matching table in a matching room, but everything is flipped. It's like the mirror of the room you were in. The door was on your left, now it's on your right. Those kinds of things. And it's a perfect mirror image of the room you had been in. And the whiskey lady is not present, but you also immediately notice the body of the butler laying near the door on the floor. And you all wake up. The rest of you somewhat groggier, but because Kalara had already been kind of in tune to the fact that this building is weirdly constructed, she notices this change in construction first.
I go check on the butler. Check for a pulse.
Roll a medicine check for me.
Whatever happened to us?
Oh, I only drank 2 glasses. I couldn't have possibly been that.
That was a 7. I don't know if he's alive or dead.
You're trying to find a pulse, but you can't remember if it's supposed to be the neck or the wrist. Are you supposed to touch the wrist with your thumb or not? I don't know.
It's not my focus. I do paperwork. Something's definitely very wrong. We were drugged. There's no other explanation for it.
Oh my god, is that man dead?
I can't tell. I'm not particularly good at medicine. It's not my focus.
Well,
at minimum, he doesn't seem to be breathing.
I don't see his chest moving, so I suspect he may be.
Well, who cares about that? We need to get out of here.
Agreed, but everything's clearly wrong. The room's completely flipped.
Well, now that you mention it, that does seem rather odd.
do I sense any magic here?
Are you gonna cast detect magic or?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, and that's a 30-foot radius, correct?
Yes.
In this immediate room, you get 30 feet basically will cover the entire dining room. So you know what's going on in the dining room. You don't notice any magical objects aside from the body of the butler himself. The entire body is glowing. You also get this faint sense of something magical beneath you. It's like just on the edge of your range, so you don't get you're not 100% sure of what it is, but the fact that it's that far, you know it's very far away, and it must be very powerful if you're still getting that sense, even though it's kind of outside of your range.
All right, Adrian's gonna go up to the body and just like, maybe I can give him a check.
Please feel free, Miss Caldwell. I'm not good at this.
I'm not gonna check for I'm not gonna use medicine. I'm gonna use Arcana on this roll. I want to know what is this? That is a 23.
So on a 23, you don't really notice anything odd about him. He looks like a normal living human man. Like there's nothing super odd about him. But when you combine that with the fact that he lit up like a Christmas tree with your spell, you are kind of wondering if maybe he is a simulacrum or a clone, some kind of copy. It's a very, very good copy. But that's really the only thing that makes sense. And on anything less than a 20, you probably wouldn't have put that together.
I'll just say to the rest of them, this might not actually be a man. Something unusual about it. Just reeks of magic.
Well, that's problematic, and it explains why I couldn't find a pulse.
So we have a body that may not be a body. We have a room that's not quite the room. Some sort of illusion magic, some practical joke by our hostess.
Ransom, perhaps?
If this is a practical joke, I'm warning you it will negatively influence my review.
You get nothing.
If this is a practical joke, it's absolutely the worst practical joke I've ever seen.
Yes, well, I suggest we leave the matter of the dead body, be it human or otherwise, to the helpful god, and the rest of us will exit as quickly as possible.
Yes, I've just had enough of this.
And as you
After
make
you,
your
Ruben.
way through the dining room, this dining room has one entrance and exit. There's the door that you came in through, and you enter back into that hallway. However, this hallway doesn't seem to go anywhere. So you've got the door that you've just exited from with the dining room. You've got this kind of short, maybe 20 feet of hallway, and you've got another door on one side, which seems to be the door that the study was at. But there's nothing else in this hallway. It's brick wall on either end.
I wish to investigate these brick walls to see if they are in fact illusions.
So roll Arcana for me then.
Well, this
18.
is highly concerning.
There is absolutely nothing magical about these very solid brick walls.
You know, Miss Caldwell, your kidnapping and ransom idea is getting more and more plausible as we speak. I mean, I'm not particularly worth anything, but I also wasn't supposed to be here tonight.
Who was supposed to be here tonight?
The captain of the guard. I came in his stead due to the family illness, and the butler did seem quite flustered when he opened the door for me. He definitely wasn't expecting me, that's for sure. The captain of the guard, a rich noble, a skilled artisan, and a professor top in his field would definitely be worth something to the right people.
Definitely each one of us is valuable in our own way, I suppose.
You do remember that the study that you were in, she mentioned that it also served as her office. And that door is still, well, a mirrored door, a mirror match that door is on the other side.
Well, in this situation, what would you all like to do? As the guard here, I'm obviously going to do my best to protect all of you, but at this point we have to decide if we want to try to stay in this room or go investigating into the other one. The hallway obviously doesn't go anywhere.
I honestly have no idea what to do in this situation. This might be more of your area of expertise, miss.
Shall we see if our hostess is waiting for us in her office? It's at least the next best place to start, aside from going back to where we came from.
Agreed. We've got to find out what exactly we're dealing with. One moment. And I take one of the swords out and I just basically chop off the bottom of my dress so that I can move easier. Like chop it off to the knees and then put some slight slits in just so that she's not trapped in a tight dress as she's trying to move around. All right.
And so you make your way into the study with Kalara taking kind of the lead into this room. And again, this room looks like a mirror flip of the study that you had been in before. You notice that there is a large fireplace that is crackling, well, was crackling in the other study, but here is dead. There's no flame, there's no heat. There's a fireplace on one side. Many of the walls are covered in bookshelves. The only thing that you notice that's super different is that this desk looks used. The desk in the study looked very much like it was for show, but here there's kind of papers and files and scribbles and writing kind of all over it.
Gonna go over to the fireplace and see if it looks like it leads out or if it's capped off or if there's anything strange about it.
So like looking up into the chimney.
Yeah, to see if it's bricked off like the hallway was or if it's still open like it might be a way out.
So as you kind of look up this chimney, you see the shutters are closed, kind of the chimney shutters are closed, and it's a very tight fit. It's not a massive chimney. But roll an investigation check for looking around the rest of the fireplace, just kind of looking for anything off. Adriana, as you are moving in here, you notice a few kind of odds and ends of magical things, but you go and look at them and they're just kind of they look like, you know, cleaning rags that are preloaded with prestidigitation and kind of little things that you might find in any wealthy home. Nothing that strikes your notice, but you still feel that hum of power below you, and it actually almost makes you kind of nauseous. And Karen, what did you roll for that investigation check?
23.
Oh yeah. So as you're playing around this wall, this brick fireplace, you find one of the bricks has what looks like a small rune written in abyssal on it. And as you like get up and close to it and look at it, you can see this little tiny, it almost from a distance it looked like just like a scratch.
Professor, do you recognize this language? I'm afraid I can't read it, but it looks like a character of some kind.
Yes, let me see here. No, I can't say I'm familiar with this particular rune.
Do you mind if I take a look, actually?
Of course.
I do speak Abyssal.
You did ask me about it, so I'm going to assume that you do. And it just says push.
Well, that's strange and possibly helpful. It's Abyssal and it says push. I do a lot of the translations for the captain.
Good to know. I hesitate to follow an instruction like that, but
We might
it's
want
good to know it's here.
we might want to check some of the papers on the desk first. There seems to be a lot going on. We might find something useful. I'm gonna go start digging through all the papers.
So as you're digging through the papers on the desk, you're the right person to do this because you realize that most of the writing is in Abyssal here, except for a few letters in common that look to be kind of like, oh, hello, darling. It was wonderful to see you here, blah, 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 blah. You find actually what looks like a torn portrait of yourself. Which is odd. But it seems to be kind of shoved to one side of the desk. But there's a fairly thick envelope that has today's date on the top. And when you open it, you immediately recognize the names of several of your compatriots. You're more than welcome to keep reading, or you can let them know.
Yeah, at this point, I think I would tell everyone. Well, something's definitely strange here. Most of the writing on her desk is in Abyssal, which is not a language that gets used around here very often. Like I said, I know it because I do the translations for the guard when we have to look into it. But there's also this thick envelope with today's date. It has information on all of us, I think. All of our names, well, your names in particular, seem to be on the writing. And she'll show you guys. Is all of that in Abyssal?
Yep. Unless you can read Abyssal, you can't read it.
What does it say?
I honestly didn't read it yet out of your personal privacy concerns, but if you want me to find out what it says, I'm happy to translate.
Just hand it here.
All right, I give you yours.
Yeah. It seems that there's essentially in this folder, there's like a file on each of you. And you probably are able to hand Adriana 2 or 3 pages of parchment kind of filled with things about herself. But Adriana, you would recognize a few words here and there that are names of your programs, maybe that you do, your philanthropy programs written in common. And there's even kind of a one of them that has a large kind of question mark beside it. And you would recognize this as one that you use for some of your other work.
My, they've been busy. Looks like our invitations were not on a whim. They've been keeping track of us for quite a while, it looks like. Oh. We have admirers.
It seems so. Is there a file on the captain that's in this envelope also?
Yes, there is a file on the captain.
Okay. Well, that's definitely going back to the guard with me, and I tuck it somewhere.
But you don't read it?
Not right now.
Do you hand everyone their kind of personal files?
Yeah. Especially with them sitting there staring at me, I'm not going to read them.
Also, as you're investigating this desk and kind of ruffling through everything, your kind of knee bumps into the side of it, and you see that there's a drawer kind of in the bottom. And in the sake of thoroughness, you open this drawer and you see it is just filled with stacks of invitations, just like the ones that you received, but with the dates not filled in yet.
Oh.
But there's maybe 60 or 70 pre-prepared invitations that aren't addressed to anyone yet, aren't filled out with the information yet, but they seem kind of just ready to like fill in the blank.
Well, that's strange. I just pull out a big handful and dump them on the desk. Do these look familiar to anyone else?
No, what? Why are there so many of them?
I have no idea.
She did say she was holding these kind of small get-togethers to try to test out the hotel. But why are they here in this mirror study instead of in her regular office?
I have a feeling this might be her regular office. I mean, this one actually looks used. The other one was pristine. Well, as pristine as a rundown building can be.
But what's going on?
I don't know. Clearly they gathered information on everyone. I mean, I'm not in this folder, and she gestures at the captain's folder, but look, even this, and I hold up a picture the like torn picture of myself. She had some information on me.
Right. Well, this is all extraordinarily creepy, and I think we should leave. And I will stuff my dossier into my bag, and reaching in, pull out a staff. It's a quarter staff that has a large ornamental spider on the top, and with the butt of it, I will push that brick in the fireplace.
Clara, just before this happens, as you've held up this basically this small painting of your likeness, and you can actually see on the back of this kind of worn piece of parchment, it just has the word problem written. And that's it. That's all it seems to have. And you push the brick in the fireplace, and the fireplace itself swings open. And you can see just a little ways in, it's a dark space. It's basically a glorified closet worth of space, but there are stairs leading up.
And there we have it, our way out. I will cast dancing lights and send the lights up the staircase. Shall we?
Oh my. Yeah, after you.
All right.
Very well. I head up the stairs.
Can I make some sort of check, see what kind of staff, like decorations, if I can figure out what it is?
To learn about Cornelius's staff?
Yeah, I want to know if it's anything that I would recognize.
Sure, make an Arcana check, and Cornelius, I will let you take the lead on what you think she learns.
That is 12.
It's a magical staff with a spider on it.
In mind.
And you kind of head up the stairs, this group of strangers who may be feeling more or less comfortable with each other at the moment. This staircase is kind of creaky, wooden slatted stairs, the kind that you can see through, but all you see is like the floor below and the brick wall on the side. And you kind of climb up the stairs, and I imagine Professor Cornelius is in the front. And you reach another door, which is just a plain wooden door, and you can open the door pretty easily. And you step out onto the landing, and in front of you, you just see this long stretch of hallway. It's probably 40 feet long hallway, and there are lines of doors on either side. And Adriana, as you come up to this, you probably have enough range on your ability to detect magic to hit a couple of the other sides of these doors, and they are just lit up to heck. But Professor, since you are the first one up, and everybody will need to, roll a wisdom saving throw, everybody.
$11.
6.
21.
13.
Professor, as you come up these stairs, there's one of these doors that you are immediately drawn to, and you can't help but want to go inside. Kalara, it is the same for you. But Karen and Adriana, you also feel drawn to a particular door. Like there's a door here that is meant for you. But you don't feel like you have to go open it unless it's your own personal curiosity, where the other two feel almost compelled to go inside.
I shall walk towards the door and reach for the handle.
I'm going to let them go.
I will try to stop them. Do we think it's wise to just randomly start stepping into rooms?
No, I'm quite certain there's something important in here.
I feel like I need to open this door.
You hear from in your head, Karen. They are charmed. Let them go.
Oh, wait, is it a charm? Because then I have advantage.
It's not like a charm person spell
Okay.
necessarily.
Just checking.
And are we both drawn to the same door or different doors?
Different doors.
Perhaps one at a time would be wise then, at least.
Cornelius is already grabbing the door handle and opening the door.
So as Karen and Adriana kind of stand back like, Professor, as you open this door, on first glance, it looks like a room. You actually notice that the door had a number on it, like a room number, like it was a hotel bedroom. And you walk in and there's a bed and there's, a small dresser, a wash basin. Looks like one of the nicer rooms that you have probably stayed in. It's fairly well done up, but there is somebody sitting on the bed, somebody who cannot possibly be sitting on that bed, that you recognize as a person that you have stolen from. Can you describe this person for us?
They are. Let's see. They would be dressed in also like wizardly robes, but not nearly as fine or grandiose as his. They would be, let's say, probably human, like early to mid 20s, and yeah, that's all that I can think of.
Okay, and he just kind of turns and looks at you somewhat accusingly.
I close the door. No, I was wrong. Nothing important in there at all.
Kalara, have you reached for your door as well at this point?
I think I would have at this point, yeah.
And you are able to kind of open this door, and inside is nothing really. But as you walk inside, you start to hear whispers. Lots and lots of whispers. Things that you used to hear a lot probably as a kid. Voices of people that by blood are technically family, whispering and saying things about you. Trying to figure out how to get rid of you.
Okay.
And there is a large portrait on one wall, and you recognize the stark blue eyes in the portrait as the Dowager. And they seem to watch you.
Yes, I agree with Professor Cornelius. These rooms definitely don't hold anything important right now. And I back out.
Before you back out, roll a perception check for me.
Okay. That was much better than some of my more recent rolls. Perception, that's going to be a 20.
Right before you close the door, you kind of looking around when you were trying to hear where these voices were coming from, you notice that the bed, while it looks quite fine, seems to have shackles at the front and at the foot of the bed. And that the wall next to the door that you can see out of your peripheral has what looks like nail scratches in the paint running down the side. You may even see on the floor some chipped pieces of fingernail that were broken from whatever was trying to scratch its way out of the room.
This place just keeps getting worse and worse. Did anyone follow me in, or did you guys hang out outside?
Stayed back.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of taking stock, because taking note of the room, not opening it, but taking note of which room I felt pulled towards, and just kind of keeping an eye on things. Can I flip through the file that I was handed real quick, see if any names or any details jump out that aren't in Abyssal real quick?
Sure. As you flip through this, again, most of it is written in Abyssal, but there is kind of the scratch, or it's kind of a rough sketch of some kind of dark figure that's cloaked, that doesn't seem to have feet, but rather some kind of protrusions out from the bottom of it. And it looks like someone was just kind of scribbling on the side of one of the pages. And as you see this image, you hear a voice. Well, you don't really hear a voice because you have that ring, but you hear kind of like a knocking in your head, as if someone was asking permission to talk to you. Do you let them?
Yes, I'll let them.
And you recognize this voice. You've interacted with this voice before. And it just says, there's a great deal of useful power here. Worth taking a look.
I don't know if I like the kind of power, but I definitely see where you're coming from.
Power is power, though. It's the wielder who decides if it's good, right?
I suppose. In the right hands. In our hands, maybe.
Yes, I think we could do great things with the power that's here. Dang it. Haha. My internet stopped for a moment, but I got it back. And it just says, I think we could do great things with the power that's here, you and I. We've been partners for so long.
Any hints? Or will you keep this close to the chest like normal?
Just keep your mind open. There are opportunities. Should you choose to take advantage of them, I would be appreciative.
I'm getting hungry again, huh?
Yeah. And you get the sense that it kind of waves goodbye at you and leaves. And as you are staring at the door, you're in front of the door, as you've been speaking and reflecting on this image that you've seen, you put your hand kind of on the wood, and you feel that same wave of goodbye on the other side of the door. And then whatever was drawing you to it disappears. You don't feel that urge to kind of walk inside anymore.
And I'll kind of whip around from the door. So, try another door or try another hallway? Do we have any bright ideas?
Adriana, as you've made your way kind of a few steps into the hallway and your detect magic has kind of reached the end, you get the sense that that far wall is actually some kind of illusion magic.
That wall is not real. Maybe something's on the other side.
Yes, good.
Yes.
Perhaps an exit.
Yes, after you, officer.
Very well. I'll kind of put out a hand and feel for the illusion to see if I can get past it easily.
And as you push your kind of hand through this illusion of a brick wall, much like what the professor thought was downstairs, you are able to pass through and you're on another landing of stairs going down. But I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Okay. That's a 28. Dex is what I'm good at.
So you take 10 points of lightning damage as you kind of cross this threshold, and as you take this shock through your system, your kind of hair standing on end, you look down at the floor and you realize that there was this very large rune just kind of out of Adriana's range when she pointed out the door, just on the other side of this hallway. But when you look at it, it seems like you have kind of scratched through it and like it's not viable anymore. But I'd like you to actually make an investigation check as you're looking down at the rune.
Okay. That is a 23.
This rune looks like it's designed such that there's 2 blank spaces in the basically what looks maybe like red paint on the ground, that are shaped perfectly for very, very large feet.
Huh. All right, I think you should all be safe to come through. There was a lightning rune. That didn't feel very good, but it appears to be deactivated now.
Well, that's good news then. That means they didn't want to come there.
True.
Now it'll be there.
Miss Caldwell, could you please take a look at this and see if I'm seeing things correctly? Magic's not my strongest area, but something about this rune looks like it was perhaps designed so that these 2 spaces could be used for large feet.
I don't sense anything from this.
You don't anymore. You sense the residual of the magic, even though it's kind of gone now. It seems to be coursing through Kalara a little bit, who still kind of like twitches a bit. The feet don't really strike anything magical to you. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a magic standpoint, but anybody who's looking at it that wants to try a nature check might be able to get some idea of what's going on.
I have no idea.
So while this conversation is happening, that nature check could be any of the 4 of you.
I'll say that Adrian doesn't know anything about nature, so.
Try.
16.
Okay.
At 14. Yeah.
You, on a 16, you're not really sure why there would be feet placements in the middle of this rune, but you can tell that the feet, the shape of the feet themselves are kind of wonky. They're a little unnatural. They don't look like a large human or anything else, but they're made by something that's probably like 7 feet tall, just by estimation of just how big they are. They are giant feet. But that's about all you get from it. You still don't really know why they'd be here. But there must be something very large.
And I'll relay that to everyone, just kind of it's abnormal, but can't really put my finger on just how. It's big, whatever it is. We can be certain of that.
Well, it's not here anymore. We might be in some sort of danger. And then she's gonna just carve like a sigil in the air in like purple like light. She's gonna cast Mage Armor on herself.
How long does Mage Armor last?
8 hours.
Sorry. And in front of you is actually a bit of a spiral staircase leading down into what is not dark, because I imagine Professor has sent his dancing lights that way. So it's well lit. And you can actually see kind of at the bottom, you see what looks to be some large appliances, a big countertop, basically a large countertop, and then places like a sink. There seems to be a water spout. This looks to be the kitchen area of this hotel that you have wandered down into. Do you head down the stairs?
Before we proceed, I too shall cast Mage Armor.
Yeah. Before we keep going, I want to look for more traps.
Roll a perception check for me.
Can never be too careful.
Especially after that. Okay, you said perception. So that's going to be 18.
You don't see any more traps, but you immediately notice the smell coming from something in this kitchen is foul and rotting. And it doesn't just smell like rotting meat, it smells like rotting flesh.
All right, everyone, just to give you the information, I don't see any other traps on the stairs, but something smells like the morgue down there.
Oh my god, that's awful. Ugh. Oh.
As you all are making your way down the stairs, you can all kind of smell.
So, the footprints in the rune, were they facing towards the stairs or away from the stairs?
They were facing away from the stairs.
Okay.
Towards the hallway.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And as you enter the kitchen area, who's in front?
Probably me. With like a hand over my face.
As you head down the staircase, you notice a few things.
It looks to be that there's a space on one wall that looks to be something like cold storage, something that you would probably kind of harvest blocks of ice and put these blocks of ice in there to try and keep meat fresh or things like that. Doesn't seem to be cold, and the smell seems to be coming from there specifically. You also notice there's a lot of kind of things scattered about on the counters. You see what looks like several, like a knife block with some knives missing in it. And there is kind of one additional way out of this room. There's another door, but it's not really clear where, like, the door is closed, so you don't know where the door goes.
Well, that would explain why it smells like the morgue.
But how long how long were we out for if the cold storage has gone warm?
I don't really have a way to tell you that, although we didn't make a mess of ourselves, so presumably not for days and days unless we were in some sort of stasis.
You can go look at the cold storage if you like.
Yeah, I'll go investigate. She's good at that.
Meanwhile, the professor's like,
We should be getting out of here.
So as you go to the cold storage, there's a few things that you notice when you open the door immediately. You get hit with that stench. And when you look up where there would normally be meat hooks, there are pieces of flesh kind of dripping blood onto grates in the floor that seem to drain it away. And they are kind of slowly rotting. And you can look around, you can see the shelves where there should be ice blocks, and there is no ice. But roll an investigation check for me.
Okay. All right, that's going to be a 16.
On a 16, you notice that there's no melted water in here. Like, none of the ice shelves are damp. Like, it looks like there may never, like, if this was used as cold storage at some point, it's been a very long time. There's like no pools of water, there's no puddles or anything like that, and it's not like it all drained to the floor. Like, even the shelving is bone dry. You also find a plate and a fork and a knife in this room, with remnants of blood on the plate itself.
Like, still wet, recent remnants?
Yeah.
Oh, that's disgusting. I leave the room very quickly and relay this information to everyone else.
You say there's blood dripping flesh. What's the blood dripping flesh from?
Was it discernible at all when I was in there?
You could go back in and try and figure it out. It would be a nature check, though.
Okay. Okay. And I'll turn back in and go check. That's a 14.
Looking closely at these strips of flesh, they do seem to be humanoid. You're not quite sure more specifics than that. But there's actually one of them where you can still see the remnants of what looks like a tattoo. And it looks like the watch symbol. The symbol that it like matches your clothing.
Does it look familiar? Like, do I remember anyone I knew having that particular tattoo?
You know that there's like a couple of people in the watch that, you know, that are super excited that will get kind of these kind of tattoos. There were a few people that you know that worked pretty closely with the captain that had tattoos that looked like this. But it's hard to tell one from the next because they all kind of go to the same place. They know a guy.
Okay. Do I know about anyone in the guard besides the captain having been invited to this hotel recently for any sort of special dinners?
You don't know of anyone who'd been invited, but you know that a few weeks ago, the captain kind of begged off another family emergency and asked someone that you work with to kind of go do something for him because he couldn't make it.
Got it. My captain apparently doesn't like fancy parties.
Based on how this one's going, can you blame him?
No,
No.
not in the least. Oh, shite. All right, I go back out and relay this as well.
Huh.
I don't know who it is. I don't remember who the captain asked last time.
Now I'm going to posit something that might be a little alarming for you, maybe. But have you ever thought about that the captain is in on this whole thing?
I don't believe the captain would be doing that,
Curious that he isn't here.
but
Got sick.
it's a bit strange. I feel like if that was truly the case, though, she'd be less likely to have this. And I pull out the dossier on the captain. But perhaps you're right. I didn't read any of yours for privacy, but if you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment and flip through this. And I start flipping through the captain's dossier.
So Kalara, Adriana, while Kalara is reading, you using kind of your detect magic in this room, again, you don't sense anything particularly magical, except kind of off in one corner, there's another one of these runes on the floor, these lightning runes on the floor with feet prints in them. Kalara, so as you're flipping through this dossier on the captain, essentially it's a packet for blackmailing them. It has information about kind of everything from some fairly large gambling debts that the captain has, down to kind of some written affidavits that the captain has been accepting bribes, likely to pay off these debts to let people into the upper city that maybe shouldn't supposed to be there, kind of turning their back, suggesting that other people turn their back. So a lot of nothing particularly terrible, but some not great behavior of their station.
Right. He'd get in trouble. He'd get in a lot of trouble and probably lose his job, but wouldn't necessarily be part of like the murder that clearly seems to be happening here.
Yeah. You do see kind of in this packet there's a line that says that the captain keeps avoiding coming to the party. Like it has like a tally basically of how many times they've invited the captain. And it seems like whoever was writing this was brainstorming, was basically kind of train of thought, consciously kind of journaling, taking notes about like how many times that they think that they would let the captain get away with avoiding the party, and what they might do to kind of basically turn over all this blackmail on the captain to the appropriate people. Nothing that suggests that the captain necessarily knows, but he would know if somebody didn't show back up for work.
That's true. I'm very sad to say that though I don't believe what's in here indicates directly that he knows what's happening, he might have some suspicions about the nature of this place, as he's avoided the dinner party. I hold a page with however many tallies are on it, this many times.
Yeah, it's something like 3 or 4 probably.
So he may not know what's happening, but I don't think he thinks it's a normal dinner party.
Certainly not to avoid it that many times.
Exactly. Although he doesn't particularly care for getting dressed up. But still. All right, well, strange as this may sound perhaps to all of you, I would highly recommend that we go through the kitchen and you all find something that could be used as a weapon. If you're not already carrying something.
Adrian will just go up and kind of gingerly grab like one of the knives and kind of like hold it strangely. Like she doesn't know.
Important question. Did you grab like
Mhm.
the butcher knife or like a little teeny tiny paring knife?
The paring knife, like
I'm gonna swap it for the butcher knife.
and I will Adriana will point over at the runes like I would avoid that spot if possible. It's another one of those traps.
Ah, good to know. Professor,
The group
Karen,
of you looking at this trap over in this spot, it's a weird place to put a trap. It's like in the corner of the room. There's nothing, like why would anybody go walk over there?
I will throw my knife at that wall that it's at that corner. Just try and just toss it.
Roll an attack roll for this knife. Or are you... So
All
like
right, yeah. It's just as good as
I'm gonna underhand toss this butcher knife over to the corner.
Oh, this is fine. It's a 5.
And you don't... It doesn't quite get to the corner. It kind of stops a little short, but it like skitters across the floor into the trap, which kind of activates. You see the lightning come up, but there doesn't seem to be any other reaction in the corner. It's just this lightning rune on the floor.
I just want to try and see if that wall was not an illusion. Weird then to put that rune there.
And your detect magic isn't lighting up the wall. Go ahead.
Has the rune been deactivated now that the knife set it off, or is it still...
Yeah, we'll say that as it was scratching across the floor, it kind of ripped up some of the...
Very well. I will go over and investigate the wall, see if there's any more runes hidden.
You don't notice any more runes in the wall, but while you're paying attention, kind of investigating around this, roll a history check for me.
11.
This seems familiar to you, this idea about lightning being used for other purposes than damage, but you're just not... You've read about it somewhere, but it's just not coming back to you very clearly. Adriana, does that...
I'm just... that's weird.
Strange. I can't seem to understand the purpose behind putting this trap here. There doesn't appear to be any sort of hidden passageway or other thing that needs to be hidden in such a way. It's all very odd.
This whole thing is odd. Why?
Agreed.
While they're inspecting the rune on the floor and the wall, I'm going to reach into my clutch and pull out a warhammer.
Just can you describe the clutch for everyone so we can get a really good image of this?
So it's about the length of my forearm, silver to match the dress that I'm wearing, with some light jewel embellishments on it. So it's basically just wide enough for the head to come out as behind the handle as it...
Casual warhammer.
You get kind of a nod from Kalara. Is there like a fireplace in here with a poker? Can I give Adriana something that's not sharp?
Sure. I'll say there's a like a metal cooking stove in one corner, and there's the required implements to dealing with like charcoal and stuff, so you can grab a poker.
Hand you a poker. It works a lot like a riding crop. Just hit things with it if they try to attack you. If you can't hit it with a spell first.
Oh, well, thank you. This will be good enough. She'll kind of make that. Well, if I have to do this, we're in a lot of trouble.
Agreed, but it doesn't hurt to have a weapon just in case.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Is there an exit in that corner, Professor?
Not that I can find, no. I think we are stuck to using the door. So after you.
Yes, all right. I'm gonna lead the way through the next door after checking for traps. I don't want to get electrocuted again.
The door itself does not seem to be trapped. And there's no rune on the floor immediately outside of the door. But I would like you to make a investigation for the hallway that you're entering.
Okay. That's a nat 20. So that's a 32.
Yeah, so you can see the like threads on the carpet in this hallway. Like each individual thread, you can count them. So there's a few things you notice in this hallway. This looks like a dead end. It goes like 20 feet and then stops at another brick wall. But you immediately notice a couple things. The first is you notice more of those scratches on the wall. And they look like they're trying to basically dig, like pull the like paint off the wall is missing. Like you can see some of the wood underneath in places. You can also see that the carpet or the rug that's in this room is like flipped over in spots, and it looks like someone has torn through this space trying to find a way out. But what you see is this tiny sliver of crack in the far end.
So like under the brick wall.
Yeah, so there's the brick wall, and kind of right in front of the brick wall there's some cracks in the floor.
Okay. Relay all of that. It looks like some of the people who've been here before us have tried to find ways out and not been overly successful. Miss Caldwell, is there anything magical down at that end of the hallway? I'll point at the brick.
Sense something. I'm just gonna walk down the hallway and just kind of hold my hands out and just see if I can feel anything.
As you walk, you still are getting that thrumming feeling from underneath you.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't seem like this whatever Kalara is gesturing towards at the end of the hallway is magical in nature. How far down the hall do you go?
I'm just keep going as far as I can go. Just see.
It's like all the way up to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
As you kind of get within 2 or 3 feet of the wall, you immediately fall down a shaft as the floor underneath you kind of cracks open under your weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm going to take a bio break. I'll be right back.
Oh no!
There we go. Whoosh.
Whee!
Sorry.
No, I feel bad. We've made Kalara just go in here. See if you set off any traps. I feel so. It's a good thing you have those roles. It's like.
No, it makes sense though. I am the city guard.
Yeah.
Person that's here, so making them go first is completely logical.
Awesome
So-
Warhammer.
Yes, I love that.
Yes.
It's like Mary Poppins, but badass.
Oh,
It's the beauty of a bag of holding.
yeah.
Clutch of holding.
This is very
Have
true.
to circumvent the dress code some way. Get those weapons in there.
Hopefully everyone watching is enjoying the stream thus far. Thank you for joining us this fine Saturday for our 9 Hells of a Good Time stream. This is the third of 12. Am I right on that, Heather?
Yes, it's 3 of 12 for the 9 Hells of a Good Time one-shot events.
And our DM returns.
Adriana, as you fall, there's a couple things. First, you realize that the walls of this is essentially a chute. It's like a slide.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going straight down. You're kind of going down at an angle. So your back is against the wall of this chute, essentially. Feet first. And everything in here is slick with something sticky.
Mm-hmm.
And you fall, you hit the ground, but you only take 5 points of falling damage, even though you think you probably fell 20 or 30 feet.
Oh.
Because you land on something squishy. And we are actually going to leave you on whatever that squishy thing is as we head back upstairs, just so Adriana knows if you wanted to yell at the top of your lungs, you could probably be heard at the top, and the same to you. Like, there's enough, you could probably be heard if you're yelling out this chute. But when you immediately look around this room, you're not sure if that's a great idea, and we will get back to that when everybody else.
Yeah, I am just going to. Is it dark in here?
It's there's a few kind of lantern lights. I'd say it's fairly well lit. And you can actually see the source of those mechanical sounds. But I will get back to that description after we see what's going on upstairs.
Oh, shit. And
yeah. So you guys just see Adriana's like looking, kind of like doing her thing, and just shook.
Yeah, I'm probably running over to try and look down the portal and see if I can find her, see what's happening.
So as you run over to the edge, so this hole is still open. It seems like it basically has fallen. It was a very, very simple pit trap, essentially. And as you look down into the hole, you can tell that it curves. You can tell that it's a slope, which makes you feel more positive. It's not like she immediately fell all the way down, but because it's a slope, you can't see very far. It's at an angle.
Okay. Miss Coldwell? Oh, that's not good. Do we see another exit? Are we following her? What's our plan? We can't just leave her down there by herself.
If I were to approach and stand a little bit before the pit trap and try and reach my staff across, does the staff go through the brick wall, or is the brick wall solid?
It is a solid brick wall this time.
I don't see another way out of here, unfortunately.
Kalara and Karen, with your very high passive perceptions, now that this hole is open, you can hear all those mechanical sounds. Actually makes you wonder if you couldn't really hear maybe Adriana that well because you can hear all of this noise coming from downstairs. And if you had run up fast enough, which I imagine you kind of did, you may have even heard like a little bit of a thump at the bottom.
Okay. Do you hear that?
Mechanical sounds. A device of some. It's large, whatever it is, but perhaps that explains the lightning. Devices like this usually run on that kind of arcane energy.
Maybe. I heard something a little bit like it during dinner. It sounded very, very faint, though. I thought it was just perhaps some sort of mechanism they were using for cleaning or something in a different room.
I heard it as well, but I dismissed it just the same. It's well, whatever it was. It seemed far away then, and it seems close now. Perhaps this version of the hotel is not as far from the where we started as we may think. Maybe we just need to find a way up.
Perhaps. Professor, would you do me a favor and run back into the kitchen and grab something we could jam this trapdoor open with?
I shall return to the kitchen and look for something to jam the trapdoor open with.
Roll an investigation check. And Karen, there's a knocking in your head.
10.
I'll let him in. I'll let them in, assuming it's him again.
That down there, that thing, that sound you keep hearing, that's the opportunity. Come knocking. There's so much power down there.
Well, we definitely need to go and rescue Adriana. We can't leave her at the bottom of this chute. As the one with the bag of holding, I feel amiss to have not packed an adventurer's kit. But did anyone else bring a rope just for safety?
Cornelius, you can find like maybe like a cutting board that you could like wedge into there, maybe into some of the mechanisms that keep the trap open. But yeah, so you're able to come back and kind of shove that. It seems like it'll hold the top of the door open well enough as long as nobody comes by and purposefully tries to close it.
Perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure it doesn't close behind us. Right. Were there any like really tall curtains in the kitchen room or anything that could be used like a rope?
I mean, there's like kitchen curtains, like
the short little ones.
And actually, there was no other entrances or exits to that room. There were no windows, so there were no kitchen curtains. But you do know that this seems like a slide. And you didn't hear Adriana cry out at the bottom, so that's maybe actually somewhat hopeful.
That's true. Does it look like it's so steep that you couldn't climb back up it? Or is it like at an angle where, like when you were a kid and you climb backwards up the slide?
You could probably climb back up it. It would be challenging, but it's not impossible. You'd have to kind of use the walls to like spider climb kind of up it, but you could in theory get back up.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we could probably get back up with a bit of effort. So I guess downward.
Okay. And
Ladies
you
first.
slide down first then?
Yeah, Kalara's going to get on the slide.
As you head down, you don't notice as much of the stickiness that Adriana necessarily noticed, because it seems like she kind of wiped a lot of that off with her. But there is something kind of dripping from from the top. And all of you get like little sticky spots, but you're not like covered in it like Adriana is. Adriana, down at the bottom of this hole, I will describe to you what you see, and we can have you do one or two things, and then the rest of everybody else will kind of down at the bottom as well. So you have landed on something very squishy, and looking around you, it's not something, it's someone's. And you have landed essentially on a pile of the deceased at the bottom of this chute, and you realize that stickiness that's covering your clothes, that are making them cling to you, is probably the blood that some of these people from the injuries they've died, and it looks like they were thrown down this chute. There is you're in a very large basement. It's damp and kind of cold down here. But there's a few things that immediately catch your attention. First, while most of the basement is damp and cold, there's a very, very large furnace at one side, which seems to be where these bodies are heading. But additionally, kind of right in front of you is this contraption. You see a glass cylinder with something swirling inside of it, that there's a pipe from the top that seems to pipe into some kind of large metal box that is making all this clanking and rattling sounds that you were kept hearing, or that the other two kept hearing. And then there's a chute on the other side that out in a large barrel full of metal discs. They look kind of like coins, but they're these like pretty heavy duty, a few inches across metal discs. And that whole machine is alight with glow. You also specifically notice one other spot glowing right next to this barrel. There's another large rune of some kind of sigils over there, but it's not the same as like the lightning rune that you had seen. There is also one door, and you hear voices outside of the door, but they don't seem to be coming inside quite yet. And as you kind of stand up to get a look of the place around you, as you're starting to take all of this all in, the rest of you, the other three of you, roll a dex save for me, because you know that you're falling. So you have the opportunity to do this somewhat more gracefully.
Natural 1.
13.
17.
So Karen and Clara, you both kind of land. Clara a little bit like shaken, but not damaged. Cornelius, on the other hand, you fall out of this and you immediately kind of like thump and squish on your butt into this pile of corpses that are at the bottom. And you take 5 points of bludgeoning damage just from the fall.
Yeah, you just see like Adriana, like she just seems like just unemotional at this moment. Like this should be scaring her. It's not. Like she just is looking around. We apparently found something.
Oh, this is gross. This is gross. This is gross. Cornelius is going to cast Levitate so he hovers above the corpse pile.
Excellent.
How much of remains are left? Are there heads?
These seem somewhat intact. It looks like they haven't been processed yet.
I'm gonna cast Speak with Dead on them.
Okay.
So like you just see her like find maybe a one that the most intact, and just kind of like you just see her exhale like this purple mist into it, and it glows.
And this I'd say this elven woman kind of shooks up and she goes, "Ah!" She starts kind of freaking out. What would you like to do? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, so I'll cover its mouth until it stops screaming. You are dead. And I need to know what did this to you.
The hag and her thing.
That thing? And she'll point its head at the...
No, the creature, she said that Horus had good arms and she might replace them. And she looks at a very well-built body that's kind of next to her.
Who are you?
My name is Isabella. I work for one of the families up here, and I was invited to a party, and I thought that I was just getting attention for my work. I make tapestries and I use them to smuggle things outside of the city sometimes, which she seemed to know.
Is there anything we should watch out for down here?
All of it. It's just the whiskey lady and her creature and the little man, but they just keep seeming to pop out of nowhere and they come out of there, and she gestures to kind of a darker corner of the room where it looks like originally it kind of just looked like a wooden wall, but on her suggesting that you look, it looks almost like lockers, like tall, like crates kind of standing up against one wall.
You've been very helpful. Now go back to wherever you came from, and she'll like kind of close its eyes and just kind of...
And she collapses back down to the ground.
Well, apparently we've figured out who this whiskey lady is.
This is problematic.
Oh, certainly. She said a hag.
Kalara and Karen, with your high perception, you also hear the voices talking kind of on the other side of the one door that seems to be in here, and you recognize the voice of the butler and of the whiskey lady. They seem to be having some kind of argument outside and haven't seemed to really be paying attention to you. But you also hear kind of like another heavy breathing sound out from the same direction where they are. Just like a...
I think they're on the other side of that door.
And the breathing may be where those large feet came from.
Possibly.
Is there anything we could bar the door with?
There's maybe like a shovel, but most of the things in here are attached to this very large machine. You could look around and try and get more information about anything in here. But you do hear footsteps coming closer outside.
Karen, I think it's beautiful. You know how to use that, right?
More than prepared. And I'll kind of what is it? Yeah, verbal and somatic. So I'll kind of make a gesture and my dress will change to what appears to be heavy armor. It's disguise self. Never leave home without it.
Certainly.
It's very nice.
That could come in handy.
Definitely. All right. I think that you two, since you're not up close fighter, should probably stand back a bit. Maybe draw them out. I'm better at hiding in the shadows and catching them by surprise.
And as you are chatting, you hear the doorknob start to turn. Is there anything you would like to do in this last 2 or 3 seconds?
I want to hide.
There, you could probably hide behind the machine itself. But roll that stealth check for me.
31.
Yeah, the people that know you're in here don't know where you went. And the door opens, and walking in is the whiskey lady herself, kind of still in her finery. But as she steps through the door, she kind of shakes a little, kind of like, ugh, and shifts. And before you see what is very clearly a night hag kind of sitting there. And she, but right behind her in the doorway, taking up almost the entire doorway, is this giant creature that is actually has to duck to enter. And she is surprised by you. Most people don't make it this far necessarily without giving up. So you got here really fast. So you can try to talk to her, or you would get a surprise round.
Surprise!
I have her surprise.
But she's not like, she sees you and she doesn't immediately go to like do anything.
Yeah.
So it's up to you if you want to. So Kalara is hiding, so it's kind of up to Karen, Cornelius, and Adriana how you want to engage with her. If you want to attack, we'll roll for initiative. But if you want to do anything else first, we can do that first.
Oh, I'm not going to let my competition in here.
Okay, so let's roll for initiative. Uh, 25 to 20?
20.
21.
22.
Jesus. Okay. So, Kalara and Karen and Cornelius.
I just want to point out we did not coordinate on the K names. It was complete happenstance.
We really didn't.
Yeah, I realized it when I saw the overlay, and I was like, and we also have Kelly. There's literally odd woman out.
Yeah.
Like,
Just one.
Adriana, what is your
7. I got 7.
Oh, okay. Okay. Kalara, it is so you get a surprise round on them. So we'll start with Kalara.
Okay. I'm going to attack. And I do have...
Who are you attacking? Are you attacking the hag or the tall creature that you haven't?
yet? I'm going to attack... Ooh, that's a good question. Probably the tall creature, because it would seem like the bigger threat.
Okay.
At least the bigger, like, physical threat. Yeah, so I'll go with that.
Okay. So roll that attack roll.
Okay, that's going to be a there it is. I haven't played a rogue in a really long time. 24.
Okay, that hits. What are you attacking with?
My rapier of wounding.
Okay, so roll for damage.
Okay, and since that was a surprise round, I didn't have advantage on the attack though. Never mind.
You did because you were hiding. So if you actually want to roll again and just see if you got a nat 20 or not.
It's not a nat 20.
Okay. Hits anyway, and you get your sneak attack damage.
Okay. So okay, that's 22 points of damage. Oh, sorry, 27. And with the wounding rapier, this may not do anything to him. I choose to wound it, and then at the start of each of the wounded creature's turns, it takes necrotic damage for every time that I've wounded it. But I don't know if it's actually going to take that, so if so, just let me know and I'll roll a d4. It's a DC 15 saving throw to end the effect of the wounds.
And when does it get to take that first? Does it take it right now or after the first turn?
I think it doesn't take damage until its turn. So it's the beginning of its turn. It gets to make a DC 15 con save.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next, or do you have anything else you want to do? Bonus action hide?
Yeah. Bonus action hide again.
I'm going to say that on layer 30 or whatever, you found a really good hiding spot, so you can just kind of hide. I'll give you a freebie this time because that was ridiculous. Karen, it's your turn.
Okay. I'm going to kind of close in on the hag.
Okay.
And kind of put my hammer to her chest and just, you want to explain what's going on here, and kind of gesture towards the contraption and how do we get out of here, and then that's it for right now.
Make an intimidation check with disadvantage because Kalara just did some gnarly damage to her creature. And now that you're really up close, Karen, you're also up close to this creature. You can see that it's this 7-foot tall golem made of bits and pieces of human flesh. And it's got you can notice that the tone colors of its different body parts don't match.
So for intimidation, that's going to be a 9.
Okay. So as you do this, she just kind of laughs at you. Is there anything else you want to do on your turn?
Let's see. No, that's going to be it for this turn.
Okay, Cornelius.
Slow rolling it.
I will expend 2 sorcery points to use Quicken Spell and cast Greater Invisibility on myself as a bonus action.
You disappear.
Oof. And I will... I shall cast a Ray of Frost at the little... Is it the butler that's with them?
It's the only 2 people that you see are the hag and her creature. The butler seems to have found better things to do.
Then a Ray of Frost at the creature.
Okay.
And that probably misses because that's an 8.
That does miss. Although...
Or no, 13. Sorry, 13.
Oh, a 13. That's a hit.
Oh, yay!
He does not seem. This creature doesn't have any armor or anything on it. It's just, you can just tell that it's like stitched together human flesh. Or
Okay,
people
so
flesh,
there's
I guess. is
6
accurate.
points of cold damage, and
Okay.
its speed for the next round is reduced by 10 feet.
Okay. So. And that takes us to Adriana's turn.
Okay. She'll look at the night hag, and in Infernal, she'll just say, "They are ours. Leave them. Go back to wherever you came from." And then I will cast Hold Monster on her.
Okay. Is that that's a saving throw, right?
Wisdom saving throw, sorry.
Wisdom saving throw. Okay.
Cornelius actually speaks Infernal and isn't sure what to make of that.
Same.
She rolled a natural 20.
Hmm.
So that's a total of 22. So I believe that just means it does not work.
Fine, we'll have to do this hard way.
Is there anything you would like to do with your bonus action?
No.
Okay. Then we're going to come back to the top of the order. So that was your surprise round. So we're back to Kalara, who is hidden.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because we get a surprise round. So I'll attack. I guess I'll attack the hag from behind this time, since she's not responding well to anyone calling out to her.
Okay.
Okay, that's not as high. That's a 16.
That does not hit.
Okay. And then I'm going to. I'm debating. Yeah, I better hide again. I don't have a great AC, so she'll hide again. And this time, I'm assuming you want me to roll for it.
Yes.
That was better. That's a 22.
And you feel pretty confident that you are back in that same sweet spot that you had found before.
Okay.
So that takes us to Karen's turn.
I am. Let's see. I'm still standing like right in front of the both of them.
Yep.
So I'm going to. Shoot, what was I gonna do? I'm going to say. I asked you to explain yourself and then take a swing at the hag with my hammer.
Okay. And is there anything special about your hammer? Or is it just a hammer?
Just a hammer.
Okay.
I mean, it's counts as magical for resistances.
Okay.
I believe. But aside from that, so that's a 26 to hit.
That'll hit.
And then it's going to be 13 damage.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to do on your turn?
No, that's it.
And Cornelius, so you're invisible. And to give you an idea, you're probably like 15 feet away from the hag and the monster. This is not a huge room. It's maybe 30 feet by 30 feet entirely. So it's a basement. And a lot of that space though is taken up by this machine that almost feels like like 10 square feet at least of that space that Kalara is hiding behind. Also, right before your turn starts, you get a little startled because you hear this like thunk sound of metal clanging onto wood as this machine spits out another one of these discs into the barrel. It seems to still be making noise and operating. So what would you like to do on your turn?
Cornelius is going to back up away from the hag as much as he can.
Okay.
Like press himself up against a wall if need be. And he's going to cast Cone of Cold. And he doesn't really care if anyone in his party gets hit by it.
So I'd say the cone is the point is you, and then it spreads out,
It's a 60-foot cone.
Yeah, so you would hit everyone. Because you're probably only 25 feet back, so a cone is going to fill most of this room. So you're going to hit the hag and the flesh golem as well.
Okay.
So what is that? A saving throw?
Constitution save, DC 17.
The hag fails.
That hits all of us, though? Me behind the machine, too. Okay.
The golem, you said 16?
DC 17.
DC 17. Yeah, the golem passes. So.
I rolled a 2.
Oh no.
20.
Yeah. I just barely made it. I got an 18.
So that's 35 cold damage on a failure and half on a save.
Okay. So the golem gets hit by this and kind of like cries out a little bit. It definitely seems there's like ice crystals forming on its chest. It does not seem super thrilled with this turn of events. However, when it hits the hag, she kind of it definitely makes her shiver a little bit, but it doesn't seem to have that same like striking effect on her. Is there anything else you would like to do with your turn? You're kind of back into the corner of the room with your back against two walls, and they know now that something has come from this direction, but they still can't see you because of greater invisibility, I believe.
Right. That's it.
Okay, and that brings us to the golem's turn, who Karen's standing right in front of the bunch of them is going to lash out and use its slam attack basically to try and like crush you into the like smack you into the wall. That's only a 13 on the first one.
Nope.
And a 19 on the second.
Second one hits.
Okay. And it swipes at you once, and you're able to kind of like duck out of its arm, kind of expecting it to kind of come after you had just smacked the hag upside the head with your hammer. But then it swipes at you with the other arm and kind of slams you into a nearby wall, kind of crushing you, and you take 20 points of bludgeoning damage from this thing slamming your back into the wall.
Whoa.
And then it's the hag's turn, and she is going to look towards wherever this cone of cold came from. I believe so. With invisibility, it's just a disadvantage to hit, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, she's going to cast. Oh, she's not going to be able to do that. Okay. She was trying to cast something at you, but it fails. It doesn't work. So that is going to be her turn, actually. And at the end of, they have actually the same turn because they both rolled the same thing. So at the end of that, the golem is going to take that necrotic damage from you, from your wound, right? So that's 1d4.
Yeah. Yes, it's a d4, and it is he does get a saving throw, a DC 15 Constitution saving throw.
14. So it fails.
Okay. So he takes 2 necrotic damage.
Okay. And you looking at this golem, it's taken a good chunk of damage, but he's still just swinging. The hag seems pretty okay right now, to give everybody an idea, and that will bring us around to Adriana's turn.
All right, Adriana's going to kind of put her, just kind of take the ice crystals, wipe them from her face, and kind of hold her hand to her head and just scream out in abyssal as 2 spectral tentacles just lash out at this hag. So it's Eldritch blasting them.
Okay, roll for that.
Okay, the lowest one was a 22.
Okay, they both hit then.
Sweet. 18 plus 28 points of damage. Force damage.
So this slams into her, and she actually kind of stumbles back, and her kind of golem helps kind of keep her standing. It actually kind of catches her a little bit. And you said 20, or you said 18?
28.
28, that's what I thought. And she is not looking super great right now. She looks really pissed off. And that will bring... Do you have anything else you'd like to do on your turn?
No.
Okay, and that will bring us back up to Kalara, who is comfortably hidden behind this thing that is clanking and clattering. It actually makes it really hard for you to hear what's going on because you don't really have great line of sight.
Fair. Okay. I'm going to come out and attack the golem again.
Okay.
That's going to be at 23.
That hits. Roll damage and sneak attack.
Yes. So that's 26 points of damage. And he takes another wound. So now he'll take 2d4 on his next turn.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to do?
I'm going to hide again.
Okay. Roll that stealth check.
24.
Okay. And that brings us around to Karen's turn. So you are face to face with this golem that just slammed you into the wall. You are also freezing cold on your back from what you can only guess was one of your fellow guests.
So I would like to kind of take stock of the room where I think the cone of cold came from. I know Kalara ducked behind the machine and Adriana's behind me. I want to cast Wall of Light on a diagonal to split the hag and the golem away from the three of us that I know where we are.
Okay, so you're trying to basically put this wall in between you and
the hag and the golem,
okay,
yeah, basically draw through them so it's in front of me.
Yeah, so they've just barely stepped into the doorway, And so you can basically cut off the entire rest of the room. What is the? I'm not super familiar with Wall of Light. What is this spell?
Okay. So if they're standing, are they standing in the doorway then? Because I would just draw it like across
They're
the doorway.
stepped in front. They're inside the room.
Okay.
They're just like right in front of the doorway. Basically, they're probably like 5 feet into the room.
Okay. So I'll basically draw the wall through them. Essentially, it's when the wall is cast, anything that's inside the wall's area makes a Constitution saving throw. On a fail, they take 48 radiant damage and are blinded for a minute. On a successful save, you take half as much and aren't blinded. And then if you end your turn in the wall's area, you take 48 radiant damage.
Nice.
It's like the main parts, and then there's other little extra bits. I can make it fire off like a beam of radiance as an action that like shrinks the wall but does damage, and so but we'll get there. Right now it's Constitution save to be blinded / take 48.
What's the DC?
My save DC is 17. It's a con save fail. 17. Okay.
Which is surprising, actually, given how constitution-y this golem is. I rolled very low.
Okay, so that's 21 radiant damage, and they're both blinded for a minute.
Okay.
And the room gets filled with 120 feet of bright light. Since the room's kind of small, basically the entire room just lights up. Like the sun was in there.
So this wall of light shoots up, and it literally like splits right down between both of them, and you actually hear this golem kind of cry out, and it looks it's starting to like look around frantic, and the hag is struggling. Cornelius, it's your turn, unless you had anything else you wanted to do.
Just back away from them and the wall a little bit.
You've got like 20 feet of backup that you can do, so you could back up as much or as little as you want. You can get all the way to the back wall, or you can kind of get out of immediate range.
Just like 10 feet back.
Okay. You would invoke an attack of opportunity from, I think, both of them if you back up, because you're moving out of their melee range.
They're blinded, so would it be a disadvantage?
It would be
at a minimum?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I still want to back up.
They're just swinging wildly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the golem takes a swing at you. That was not so good. And that's a 16.
Nope.
And the hag takes a swing at you, and that's going to be the low one there. With her claws, she just kind of starts clawing out, and that's a 12.
Nope, that misses.
So they're just both like clawing out for whatever caused this thing to happen, and the golem is like, which brings us to Cornelius's turn.
So, can Cornelius still see the hag and the golem, or is the light wall in the way?
Can they see? Can you? I think the idea is that the the light wall has gone up like through the middle of them, so that they're standing kind of like it's in them. So I'm guessing you can still see them.
Yeah, it is opaque, but it basically bisects them, so you can conceivably see like their bits fronts, of them still sticking out. Yeah,
like it's like noses and fingers, and you can see their kind of wave around.
Cornelius is going to spin this sort of orb of chaotic energy in the palm of his hand and shoot it towards the hag, releasing a 4th level chaos bolt.
At
the hag.
Okay.
And that is a 25 to hit.
That hits.
So it's going to be 21 points of force damage.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to do on your turn?
I will move sideways, like 15 feet or so, just so I'm not standing the same place I was when I cast the spell.
Okay. Okay, so you just kind of like scooch along the back wall, kind of getting closer to this area. Actually, you kind of bump up against to where these like crates and lockers are, right next to you. These like tall crates. And that brings it to the flesh golem's turn, who takes that 2d4, I believe, and gets to do that.
Yeah, you get a con save.
Con save. Which is only a 14. Oh man.
Okay, 6 necrotic.
Okay. And as this happens, actually, let me roll. Oh, it's like flailing around wildly, looking really angry, kind of looking for something to hit, but doesn't seem to have completely lost its cool yet. But you get the impression that this thing could just start swinging at whoever's closest, given the right. Sorry, barky dog. And then it is going to move forward out of the wall of light, and it's just kind of like walking forward, swinging, trying to find something to hit. And I think it has quite a bit of movement, so I'm going to say that it's trying to hit Karen because you just backed up. But we'll roll for disadvantage with that because it's blinded. It's just kind of like. "Ah." And that is only like a 13 to hit. So I'm guessing it's just screaming and moving wildly.
Yeah, I'm kind of ducking in there. Like,
and it comes around to the hag's turn, and she just kind of stops, and she like scooches forward very slowly, kind of like she's picking her way through the floor, because she can't see anything, like one hand in front of her, and she's just like, I know at least one of you has a friend that would benefit from my works. What if we talk about some kind of agreement? An exchange of goods, possibly? And I won't tell people what's in that folder you snatched off my desk. And that's her turn. And it's Adriana's turn. Adriana, what would you like to do to this?
Yeah, so like once the wall, like she kind of shields her eyes and just kind of like walks backwards until the wall, and then she'll just utter abyssal curses at this thing and just send out 2 more spectral tentacles at them, and that's with advantage because it's blind, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Lowest one was a 21.
That hits.
21 points of force damage.
And as she's like entreating you, making this offering, you just smack her upside the head. And how do you want to do this?
Yeah, it will just just burrows its way into her her mind, and she just falls down, and just kind of like the ears and the eyes just start bleeding, and she'll just say in infernal, like, "We don't need your help here."
And she just crumples to the ground. And you see, looking next to her, this flesh golem just kind of stops flailing and is just like looking around very confused. It just looks confused. It just doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't know what to do. But it's not like slashing out anymore. But that does take us up to Kalara's turn, who is still hidden behind the machine.
Okay. Does it still look like it's angry and feeling threatening?
It definitely still looks like still looks defensive.
Okay. And we still haven't seen the little butler dude.
No, he doesn't seem to be anywhere nearby.
Okay. To fight or to investigate? That is the question. All right, I guess she'll come out of hiding, but before she actually hits it, call out, "Do we want to keep fighting this, or should we look for more information?"
If it fights,
Well,
fight it.
The only one who knew how to get out of here is now, and I'll gesture at the dead hag. So we're going to have to investigate.
Do you keep engaging
Alright,
the golem?
No. Instead of attacking it when I come out of hiding, I'm going to go look out into the room that they came through, the door that they came out of.
You see what looks to be kind of straight out the door. You see like a short hallway that ends in kind of stairs leading up. There doesn't seem to be anybody else out there.
Okay. There's stairs leading up over here through this door.
Was there a body left of the hag?
There is.
Yeah. There's the hag's body is crumpled on the ground, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing I did to the corpse and speak with dead.
Okay. And as you do this and bring the hag back, the golem, who's kind of standing at attention almost, gets protective again. And like tries to like basically like to pick her up, and she's just like, don't, just go do something. Go take the thing. And you see the golem just like nods at her command, and it walks over to the side of the room where Adriana had previously seen another rune on the floor, and it picks up the barrel of these discs and steps onto that rune. And the barrel, yeah.
If I see him going for the barrel, can I try to mage hand one of the metal, whatever it was, out of the barrel before?
Yeah, sure.
Just as a reactionary, like, oh, let's try to snatch one.
Yeah. So you cast Mage Hand and roll. I always go back and forth about how I want to do Mage Hand. Roll an Arcana check to see how well you control it to make it do this thing that you want it to do, because it's trying to get in and out quickly, basically. Before.
Roll a natural 1. So it'd be an 8 with the modifier.
It tries to the hand tries to swipe at one of these coins, but you just thought about it a little bit too late, and the golem has already stepped onto this spot on the floor, and both the barrel and the golem seems to disappear.
Like magic poofing disappear, or like some sort of trapdoor disappear?
Adriana would recognize that this is some kind of teleportation circle.
What was that?
It's the delivery. I have to take the harvest down to Maggie in Avernus.
How do we get out?
Just go out the hallway and up the stairs, and you'll be back at the front door.
What does this machine do? Why is this so important?
It harvests souls from the people in the hotel and compacts them and puts them into soul coins, which are used in Avernus by Maggie to buy things, and she sends me very nice trinkets and stuff. Well, not anymore, I guess. We'll have to shut down the whole operation now.
Yes, that's all. If you see any of your masters, tell them the city's off limits. And I will just do the release a spell.
And you see she has a retort to that, but you cut her off kind of mid-syllable, and she just
Well, we know the way out, at least.
Agreed. This is definitely going to have to be something that the god investigates very quickly. I wonder how many people have gone missing.
Well, it will certainly be a feather in your cap for discovering this.
Karen, as they're kind of chatting to the hag, the machine is still going. And you see the glass cylinder kind of swirl again, and you hear this sound through the machine, and out the other side, just onto the floor, you hear this loud clanging sound as another coin hits the ground.
I'll go over and snatch it up.
And that voice in your head goes, yes, you should do whatever you can to keep this machine functioning. There's great value in what it's doing, great power that we could use. You know, you can talk to whoever's in there.
I have 5 ideas in my head right now, and I'm going crazy. I'm the only one who took any damage in that combat, right?
I took damage. I think, yeah.
Oh, well, that's not true, actually, because we both did, but it was friendly fire.
Yeah, none
right,
of us took damage.
That's right. Okay. What the heck am I going to do? Let me try to talk to who's in the coin. And just kind of give a little knock on the surface of the coin.
And as you try to kind of essentially call upon the consciousness in this soul coin, Isabella speaks to you, who you had interacted with before.
Do you know where you are?
Not really. I know who you aren't, though.
Not sure what you mean.
Oh, you know exactly what I mean. Just like
She-
I know that the invisible one over in the corner is about as brilliant as a sack of bricks.
And how would you know that?
You learn a lot of things when you're dead.
Hmm.
From the devils that speak to you.
Is
From
that where you ended up?
No, I'm just here. I don't know where I am. I'm just in this. I don't know.
Hmm. I'll pocket the coin and kind of God, the options I've got I don't like. Just kind of look at Kilara and Professor Cornelius and say, so what was in those hotel rooms that you checked?
Cornelius is invisible and walking towards the door.
Just wants to get out.
Cornelius, roll a stealth check with advantage to see if you don't like trip over a hag or bump into a person.
And keep in mind there's a giant wall of light across that doorway that lasts for 10 minutes
Yeah, that you have to like.
that
But
you
it's
have
just
to
if you
go
end
through.
your turn, right? It's only if you end your turn in the wall, right?
Um, let's see. It's blinded creature. Yeah, a creature that ends its turn in the walls area takes 4d8, and then I could always no, that'd be a ranged spell attack. It'd be I wouldn't necessarily know how to hit him with the beam that it can generate.
And it can
But
pass through the. Things can pass through it because you have to be if you end
Yeah.
in the wall. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not solid.
So what was that stealth check?
19.
Okay, just barely beat that passive perception. And you're able to kind of start making your way out the door. And Karen, as far as you're aware, you don't know where he went. He just disappeared a little while ago. You felt that big cold blast and then nothing.
Cornelius is leaving this hotel, he's leaving this district, he's leaving this town, and never coming back again.
With all of that evidence sitting very tucked away very carefully in his pocket. So there's just Kalara and Adriana left in the room.
So now what? Suppose we can
Well-
just leave.
I was going to say, yes, we should probably head out the door, and then I'll be talking to my superiors very, very quickly about dealing with this situation. It's definitely a problem. In answer to your question, Karen, it was some family history that I don't really want to repeat. It wasn't pleasant, let's say that.
Well, we each have our secrets. No need to pry.
Agreed. All right. Well, ladies, shall we leave? I don't hear or see the professor, so he's either already gone or wants to stay here for some strange reason.
Yeah, that's right enough.
So you all can walk out unless Karen has anything else she would like to do.
I will follow them out last.
Okay.
And I'm going to cast Suggestion on Kilara
Okay.
to say, you really don't need to report this bit about the hotel.
What kind of spell? I can't remember. Is Suggestion a charm spell?
It's an enchantment. Let's see. Yeah, it's a charm. It says creatures that can't be charmed are immune to the effect.
Okay. I can be charmed. I just have a advantage. Okay.
Okay, so it's a 17.
Ooh.
What kind of save is it?
Wisdom.
That is not my good stat. Wisdom save. Okay. Yeah, that's only a 14.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Adriana,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
you would notice the any change in posture or response that Kilara would have.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a head.
Yeah.
Perhaps we don't need to tell everyone about what happened here exactly. What exactly is the suggestion?
It's limited to a sentence or two, so it would just be all of this nonsense about blackmail and murder. We don't need to report that to the city guard, to the watch.
Okay. And you leave.
Yeah, I think Adriana's gonna, once Clara is out of kind of bids us farewell, I'm just gonna look at Carol and just say, is that really you? I won't stop you, whatever you're doing.
I will use my action to shift to my normal changeling appearance and then take on the appearance of the whiskey lady and say, real is a matter of perspective.
Oh, it's a good trick. I got one thing. I will give her a one. I will what was it? I have one gift for you. Secrets between now that I know one of your secrets, you can have one of mine. And I'll give her a strand of hair with encode thoughts. She can play at that game, and she'll kind of like, her visage will kind of like shift. It's still her, but it's kind of like mangled in like a magical way. She has like tentacles on one side, and her like flesh is kind of like purplish and kind of like semi, just kind of like a little moist, a little kind of like clammy. You should probably do what you do here, and we'll keep you. We will keep this area safe. We will not do anything. But thank you.
And on that exchange and the bequeathing of the role of the whiskey lady, we're gonna end tonight's episode with some of our party guests more satisfied than others.
Oh boy.
I was curious to see which way that would go. There was a lot of ways that could go, and I'm interested to. Yeah, that was intriguing to me. I enjoyed that personally. So thank you guys for joining me today. So again, this was the third of 12 epic one-shots featuring the newest D&D supplement, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. Thanks again to Will Crossweight for our intro music and Angela for the video, which is super cool. You can find them on Twitter at Crossweight Music and Darling_Gypsum, respectively. Check out our sponsors, World Anvil and Die Hard Dice. And I think now in chat we're gonna have our winner for Die Hard Dice. And our behind the scenes people are going to take care of that because I don't have chat up at the moment. But again, I'm Kelly. You can find me on Twitter at @AKellyLane. You can find my work on DM's Guild, especially in Uncaged Anthology and Friends, Foes, and Other Fine Folks. You can also find me Monday nights, 10:30 p.m. EST, over on Scraticus Academy, a very inclusive gaming channel where we play Shadows of Estrin, a somewhat controversial but super cool game where there's a lot of like whispering, and I like sit there with my headphones off and I don't get to know what's going on. Super fun. We're gonna have the players kind of go around one more time and tell us who they are and where we can find them. And you know, if they think that their player character might do anything with this new information, they're more than welcome to share that briefly too. So first, our invisible piece the F outer, Professor Cornelius.
Yes, slinking away like a snake in the night that he is. He is going to burn every bit of evidence that he found about his dishonest dealings, and never come back to Baldur's Gate again. I myself am Matthew. I am the DM for the Land Above podcast, which is an all LGBTQ plus storytelling podcast using D&D 5e. You can check me out on Twitter at Matthew A. Siebert or the podcast at TLA Podcast. I'm also the performer for the role of Crackers on our Friday night Ghost of Saltmarsh stream here on the Nerdsmith Twitch channel.
And Heather.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather. I'm one of the directors here at Nerdsmith. You can catch me a few different places. I'm here on Tuesdays and Fridays on our Twitch stream. I also have a podcast on the network called Geek Thyself, where you can hear me and Russell geek out over a different subject every week. And you can find me on Twitter at amethyst_magic, just like it says down there with a CK. And I hope everyone had fun today.
And before we skip on over to Shauna, congratulations to Archduke Franzi, who won our Die Hard Dice giveaway today. I'm a little jealous. I might have to go buy those myself for when I run this campaign. But Shauna.
Hi, I'm Shauna, Flying Cirrus on Twitter. Pin tweet with all my games I put out through the week, and also artwork. And catch me again, I am in a Hell's Rebels campaign played in 5e on PowerScore RPG in like half an hour. So it's more magic and nobles being bad in the city of the devil.
Nice.
And finally,
Hi again. I am Kim Hanley at _Kim Hanley on Twitter. I was playing Nice, the changeling warlock today. You can find me in a Savage World podcast campaign through Dice Tyrants, and I'm going to be spinning up my own campaign as DM in an original setting through the Roll Society Twitch channel, and real excited for that. So do check it out. The setting is really cool. My players are really digging it as we dig into the lore. And yeah, this was fantastic. Thanks for having me.
So thank all of you guys for being here. Tune in next Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time for the next session of 9 Hells of a Good Time. Where Have All the Bad Imps Gone? Which is run by Twitch streamer, artist, and all-around wonderful person who I really enjoy, especially Torn Pixie. Thank you, Nerdsmith, for having me here, for doing this. This was super fun. I really enjoyed getting to look at all the goofy behind-the-scenes stuff in the Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus book. And so that's all for us today. Bye.
Bye.